We're going to call the District Board of Directors meeting Monday, January 17th, 2022 to order. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Angie?
Betty Brewski-Mallett.
Yes.
Kristen Kraft.
Here.
Craig Gerlach. Richard Murden.
Present.
Lydia Miller.
Here.
Gordon Gallows. Charles Fargo.
Here.
Ari May.
Here. Open meeting certification. This January 17th, 2022 meeting of the Mid-State Technical College District Board of Directors and all other meetings of the board and or its committees is open to the public in compliance with state statutes. Notice of this meeting has been sent to the news media and designated persons in an attempt to make the citizens of the Mid-State Technical College District aware of the place, time, and agenda of the meeting. Open forum. The open forum is at the option of the board chairperson, and the ground rules have been established to ensure the orderly conduct of business. This is a meeting of the district board open to the public and not public hearing. Persons who wish to address the district board may make a statement as long as it pertains to a specific agenda item. Individuals should not expect to engage in discussion with the members of the district board. Do we have anybody here who would like to address the board? Okay. We need to get approval of the district board meeting minutes as shown in Exhibit A.
I'd like to make a motion to approve those with one minor correction. In the president's report, item number 2, the governor's last name was spelled wrong. But otherwise, I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Can we get approval to go ahead and approve the consent agenda items as shown in Exhibit B, contract and service agreements as shown in Exhibit K, procurement of goods and services shown in Exhibit L, and district board approval and hire of resignations and contracted services as shown in Exhibit N.
Also move, this is Betty.
I'll second that, Chuck.
Any discussion? Can I get a roll call vote, please, Angie?
Betty Brewski-Mallett.
Yes.
Kristen Kraft.
Yes.
Richard Murden.
Yes.
Lydia Miller.
Yes.
Charles Fargo.
Yes.
Ari May.
Yes. Chairperson's report. I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting. Craig and Gordy have asked to be excused. Today we honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Today Americans across the country celebrate the federal holiday honoring the life and work and achievements of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a great and influential American civil rights leader. He felt that everyone should have equal rights, the right to work and make an honest living, the right to vote, the right to a good education, and the right to use all public places. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed a bill declaring that beginning in 1986, the third Monday of every January would be celebrated as a holiday known as Martin Luther King Day. Congress' intention was that the holiday serve as a time for Americans to reflect on the principles of racial equality and nonviolent social change espoused by Dr. King. During his lifetime, Dr. King sought to forge the common ground on which people from all walks of life could join together as equals to address important community issues. Service, he realized, was the great equalizer. As he once said, everyone can be great because everybody can serve. The Winter Boards Association meeting will be held on January 27th to 29th, 2022. They'll be held virtually and in person at the Osthoff Resort in Elkhart Lake. In-service will be on understanding federal funding and development around diversity, equity, and inclusion. That will be included. Betty, Chuck, and Shelley plan to attend. Angie, can anybody else still attend if they wanted to?
Yes.
They can, yeah.
So if anybody else would still like to attend either virtually or go, please let Angie know. And She'll make arrangements for you. We are planning for our next board advance. We'll be hosting a spring board advance along with for the district, along with the foundation board members. Angie has sent us today survey dates. Please take a moment and complete the survey. A date representing the majority of board members to be able to attend will be shared with all of us as it is identified. You may have noticed in your emails that Scott Grolhalski has stepped down from his position due to personal reasons from the board. This vacancy will be included in the annual board appointment process, is in the very beginning stages. Our process will begin with notification of the county board chairs next week. So if you know of anybody who may be interested, please let Angie or Shelley know about it. Please make note on all your calendars that our board meeting next month will be on February 28th. It'll not be on the third Monday. Third Monday. It's going to be on February 28th. We have changed the date. It's going to be on February 28th. We'll be meeting here at Wisconsin Rapids. Committee of the whole will be at 5 o'clock with our regular meetings to follow. Questions? Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Shelley Mondig for the President's report.
Thank you, Kristen. Just a few things. Under campus activities, wanted to share that on January 7th, we hosted for our 19th year the DECA event, where we bring high school students in to compete in various areas, and we actually ended up having 500 high school students here. 358 of them were from our district, and they represented 12 area school districts. It was our 19th year, so next year is kind of special because it will be our 20th year, and we know that we will do something special with that. Also of note is there was 80 business and industry professionals, volunteers, parents, administrators who were here that day, who volunteered their time to be able to make sure that they could evaluate the students' performance and assist in their development and just being helpful with the event. I mean, that's amazing. We were just talking through that. We weren't sure if the high schools, maybe just with everything happening with COVID, if they would maybe not do the event this year, but they did move forward, and to have that many people on campus, we were pleasantly surprised. So it was a great day. As far as winter enrollment, which is what we're in right now, if you remember, our college embarked a few years ago on offering some courses from that first week in January up until our spring semester. This has been a year of kind of up and down with enrollment, and we definitely will be sharing more information with you, but right now we are double digits up. So people are taking those winter courses, so that's a good thing. I think that shows the strength of the offerings that we are putting out. For spring semester, which does start next week, we are down a little bit. I don't think that probably surprises you because with COVID numbers, as you would guess, we have people who have small children who are having to adjust because of childcare or because of a work schedule or because of possible exposure. So I think we're really, the next 2-3 weeks is where we're really going to get more of a pure, I think, scenario as far as where we're exactly at. Know that we also have a number of courses that are offered for 8 weeks. So again, depending on how long this goes, I just don't know what that means from an enrollment standpoint. Chuck and I were talking just a little bit in finance, just briefly. We are definitely doing better than the national numbers that are out there from higher ed being down. But I don't know what these next few weeks are going to tell us. Right now, we're about 1.5% down. We have been up to being flat, so really only being down about 1.4% isn't too bad as of today. We don't know what that means for next week. But
my recollection, too, is that we compare very favorably with the state. That
yes.
The state higher education enrollment is down significantly more than 1.5%. So.
It is, depending on what survey you're looking at. I've seen anywhere from 4 to 8% as far as being down. And in higher education as a whole, nationally, some of it is showing double digits. They're also saying the first time in a long time where some of the community college 2-year enrollments are down, and the four-year university is steady or increasing just because they don't have the adult learners like we do. So they're staying steady, where for our percentage of students, when you think 80% of our students being part-time, that means that they have a whole lot more that they're juggling. So again, but that's why budget scenario and conversation is being done really every other month, just kind of see where we're at, really trying to adjust wherever we need to. So this is an interesting time to be living, I think, right? Depending on what industry you're in. From a community involvement standpoint, just wanted to let you know of a couple things. I did participate on January 11th. I went on over to Stevens Point and had a meeting with their community foundation. Their community foundation supports Portage County and Waushara. Just wanted to learn a little bit more how we can partner, so I had a great meeting with them. I also, you may have seen in some of the local newspapers on January 11th, that same day, I was over then to Marshfield and talked to the city of Marshfield, told them about AMETA, our Advanced Manufacturing, Engineering, Technology, and Apprenticeship Center. I can tell you that I believe that went well, and they were very interested in our project, so that's good to hear, and kind of that ripple down effect of what we could possibly enhance at our Marshfield campus as well. Tomorrow night, you may see me on the news or the paper, I'm not sure. Portage County Board is having me present on the center as well, and definitely we'll be talking to them about how they may be able to support our project, since it is going to be located in Portage County. I was also at the early Rotary here in Wisconsin Rapids on January 13th and just did again a high-level conversation. Ryan and I were there about the AMETA Center. Again, very positive. Some really great comments just about how people are seeing the visibility of Mid-State and hearing about the good things that we're doing. So kudos to all of you. That's always a good thing to hear.
Did you want to comment on Bill Lindroth's comment? Do you remember that one? We
We
were talking about the degrees, right?
Yes, it was
and he
like
goes, "Well,
20
that's
years."
20 years. We've been waiting
Yes.
for that 20 years."
Yeah, he was very kind when I got done talking. I was walking out and he just said something about a breath of fresh air, and yeah, he's really impressed of what we've been able to do. So I said it's all about the team. So yeah, his comment. He was a general education dean here. So when you think of transfer, that was really a big piece that had been on the agenda for him. So yeah, he definitely thought we're in a good place. And then for WTCS updates, so I'm going to be headed to Madison for the WTCS State Board meeting tomorrow morning. That starts at 9 o'clock. We have two big things on that agenda. We will hopefully be getting our final approval to be able to offer our liberal studies, Associate of Arts, and Associate of Science. It would be the final step for the Wisconsin Technical College system, which would then put us on the Board of Regents agenda. We are hoping for April. So nice to see that. We also are on the facilities development agenda tomorrow for our AMETA Center. It's the first time that that project is on the agenda. This is around our environmental impact statement that we have to do, where we have been having our public hearings to notify the public about where this building is going to be. And we've been following all normal process. At this point, there has not been anybody in attendance. Our last meeting that was to the public, again, I think it was December 14th. So this is just normal process where it has to go before the state to notify them that we're taking these steps. So when we then bring the project to them, they know that the environmental work has been concluded. So big day for us. I then will be staying in the afternoon for the president's meeting, which we will be having directly following the state board, and then making it back here for 5 o'clock for the Portage County board meeting. So tomorrow is really kind of a big day, And then under the WTCS President's Association activities, again, it was just a president's meeting will be tomorrow, and my liaison work that I've been doing with Deb's group, the instructional supervisor administrator group, I've been meeting almost every month with that group just to try to support the academic team as well. So that would end my report unless there's any questions. Okay, thank you, Kristen.
Okay, and then we'll go ahead and start with our committee reports. And we'll turn that over to Charles Spargo with Finance and Infrastructure Committee.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. We've addressed the consent agenda items already earlier in the meeting. So I'll get right into the treasurer's report. Page 31 shows the budget notifications for the month of December. They're primarily grant and federal CARES or other federal fundings to support us in and the students in the COVID times. So it's a total increase in revenue of $574,160 something, and equal amount in expenses. So there's no impact to the budgeted fund balance at this time for the changes in the month of December. Page 32 then shows those notifications reflected in the budgeted revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund equity sheet. All of this is information you've seen in this format before, with the exception of the changes in fund equity section. The bottom line of items just above the total budgeted ending fund equity is a line that we haven't seen before. It is budgets moved between fiscal years, and you see an adjustment there for capital projects. And you all recall that we started spending money in fiscal year 21 from the fiscal year 22 budget. So we made adjustments to the expenditures then, but this budget, and specifically the top line in that section, the budgeted fund equity as of 6/30/21, that budgeted line was prepared back in February, March timeframe when we worked on the budget. And at that time, staff didn't know how much we were going to actually spend. So there was no change made to the expected budget fund equity at year end. And now Greg is recognizing that unless we add a line here to reflect the money that we did spend, our fund equity would be out of whack and inaccurate. So he's added that line to improve the accuracy of this budgeted fund equity for the end of year. Moving on to page 33.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Will this be a permanent line item, or is it just?
It'll be permanent for the rest of this budget year, and then depending on what we do next year,
Okay.
if we do advanced expenditures, then this would have to occur in any year we did a major advancement in expenditures.
Okay, thank you.
The next page shows the current actuals, accrued revenue, expenditures, and changes in fund equity. We're 6 months through the year. For the month of December, we recognized or received $1.2 million in revenue, and we had $4.7 million of expenditures. But you'll note the year-to-date all funds column, the revenue we've received year-to-date is still about 4.6 million above the expenditures. We've recognized or received $34 million and recognized or expended $29.5 million of expenditures. So we've recognized or received 61.7% of our budgeted revenues year-to-date. And we've expended or accrued expenses of 49.2%. So we're doing very good with respect to expenditures, considering we're halfway through, 50% way through the year. And Fund 1, where we have the most control, and it's probably the most linear, we're almost exactly at 50% of the expenditures expended or recognized. The bottom section, changes in fund equity. The second line there shows current revenue over expenses, and you can see on the total year-to-date, all funds, the second line shows 4,000,006. That's where we're still ahead of revenue over expenses. So we're doing good. Everything is as expected, Greg indicated. The next page shows the balance sheet. We've got cash and investments this year, at this time of the year, $15.9 million, which is just a shade below the $16.1 million last year at this time. Any questions on the treasurer's report? Okay, then moving on to the informational items, there's a lot to share here. You recall last month we had a resolution authorizing Greg to pursue the refinancing of our bonds, refunding of the bonds, I guess is the way it's phrased, depending on whether certain characteristics were met. And they were met, and the refunding took place January 6th. He presented the results of the bond refunding sale via the parameters. The resolution was not to exceed $4.5 million and not more than 2% costs. And the illustration that he presented in December showed a potential savings of about $97,000. The sale occurred on January 6th with $4,075,000 of bonds, and this information is at your place. If you see there's a two-page final representation, and the backside shows what it was before and what it is now, and illustrates that we actually saved about $100,000 present worth after costs are deducted. So that's a 1.47% costs that we had. So all the parameters were met, and we're saving a little bit more than we expected. Any questions on the results of the refunding of bonds? Okay, the next item, Greg presented the fiscal year 22 budget revenue and expense forecast. As the college has started the budget development process for next year, the committee was presented a forecast for the balance of this year. With half the year complete, the college maintains a good position to be near the approved budgeted amounts. However, there's a couple of adjustments to be made. As you can see in the handout that you've got, revenues are expected to be $45,000 under budget. You'll note that our tax levy was a little bit higher, $135,000 more than we had budgeted. State aid came in at $267,000 more than we budgeted. And that was noted because the state does a true-up actually after they get the results from the prior year of how student enrollment went and everything that the college did. The state aid gets adjusted. It's a true-up of the state aids. And we were a leader in FTEs among the 16 colleges. I think we were number 2. That helped increase the revenue that we received because we had better FTE enrollment than the vast majority of the other colleges. So between those two, tax levy and state aid, we were up considerably. But of course, as Dr. Meindyk mentioned, student fees are down because we're not getting the enrollment that we had hoped for because of the COVID complications. And other costs or I should say other revenues are going to be less than anticipated. And at this point, that $154,000 in other revenues that were anticipated, the majority of that is not showing the transfer of money from the bookstore to our Fund 1, which is typically done. That's not to say we can't do that at some point, but he's not baked that into the numbers yet. So this is showing a relatively pessimistic vision of the revenues from that standpoint we don't know how the bookstore is going to do with decreased enrollment. So it's probably safer to assume that we don't have that to count on, but there will undoubtedly be something that we could count on if we need it. The other impact to the reduced revenue is, of course, interest rates have been very low, and so we're not getting the interest income that we have in past. So that's about $35,000 less than. So between the $120,000 from the bookstore and $35,000 less interest, other revenues are down $155,000. The next page shows us the expenditure side. Wages are a little bit lower than anticipated, but benefits are up primarily because of the pay-as-you-go insurance costs. Current expenses are a little bit below normal, but as you can see, we were very close to 50% of the budget for Fund 1. We're usually more than $37,000 under budget by this point, so there's only $37,000 reduced expenses there. The net then in the expenditures is $39,000 more expenditures. The next page shows the summary then of revenues, variance, expenditures and variance, and shows the impact between the $45,000 less revenue and the $39,000 more expense. We're going to see a hit to our fund balance of $84,000 based on these projections at this time. Now, Dr. Meindyk mentioned that staff is meeting frequently to review this. They're taking the anticipated changes in revenues and expenses into account. The executive leadership team has on its agenda every 2 months formal updates to the financial plan that you see here, and more frequently they have dialogue to inform each other of the potential dialogue opportunities to address any shortfalls or increased unspent revenue issues. That's a lot to chew on. Any questions that Greg can answer? Okay, then the last item that you have at your table is the budget development calendars. You'll notice a document that highlights the key dates for both the operating budget as well as the capital budget. They've been working on this already for quite some time. I'll point out on the operating budget thing for the board to pay attention to. I think it was mentioned before, but just to reemphasize that either on the May 4th or 5th, we'll be presented with the operating budget for the Finance and Infrastructure Committee, and all board members are welcome to attend. The next page shows the capital budget. That's got a faster time schedule because if there are significant things that have impact on building construction vis-a-vis students, we want to be able to get a jump on that so that we can start as soon as school ends rather than wait until the end of the fiscal year or after the budget gets approved. So we want to work on the capital budget sooner, and we've got, just to point out, March 21st proposed date for the special meeting of Finance and Infrastructure Committee to address the capital budget. And again, all board members are welcome to attend that as well. Any questions on the budget development calendars? Greg, anything to add on anything that we've?
I was making a comment on the energies costs.
Yes, thank you. I missed that. Yeah, the one of the impacts on our expenses that they're anticipating, that you've all heard, that energy costs are going up, specifically natural gas. the college gets some of its natural gas on the market, so we're exposed to whatever the market does. But they did secure 50% of the natural gas in advance, so we're not totally exposed. Nationally, Greg indicated that the industry is preparing people for 25 to 50% increase in the winter fuel costs. We're hoping that it won't be that for us because we've got half of it bought in advance at better prices than we're going to be seeing on the spot market through the winter. But that was one of the impacts that we're seeing on the expense side. Anything else to add to that, Greg?
That was the big one, yeah.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the Finance and Infrastructure report out then.
Is this just for reference, Chuck?
Which?
The audit report?
Yeah, we had a draft of that before,
Yeah,
but that's.
right, this is the final one, then? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. Then we'll move on to the Academic and Student Services Committee with Betty Brusky-Malik.
Thank you. Our committee met earlier this evening, and we had just informational items to review. And the first one being our advisory committees. And Dr. Deb Stansel gave us an update telling us that advisory committee members from the programs in the School of Transportation, Agriculture, Natural Resources and Construction, and the School of Advanced Manufacturing and Engineering were reviewed. New members were reviewed and approved using our established criteria. Currently, these schools have 106 active members. Over the past year, 13 new members were added and 36 members were renewed. Continued efforts will focus on recruiting diverse members, employee members, and individuals who can represent the greater Adams community. Additional members will likely be added in the coming years due to the partnerships we have for the Meta Center and programming planned to meet the workforce needs. And I'm not sure if everybody got a copy of this, did they?
No, they didn't.
Okay, so I can pass them around. We've got a couple of those. So that shows the number of new and renewed advisory members. Our second item for this evening was our COVID-19 response update. Both Dr. Deb and Mandy Lang gave us updates. The COVID-19 team continues to meet weekly with the focus on providing uninterrupted education and services to students. With the increase in cases over the past several weeks, a few changes were made to promote health and safety on campus. Some of these changes include additional virtual meetings, partial work from home through February 26th, and modified student life activities. There is also continued emphasis on the established harm reduction protocols, including masking recommendations, timely reporting of exposure and symptoms for staff and students, environmental cleaning, adequate spacing in classrooms, and use of technology to provide flexibility to students who may need to attend from home. And Dr. Mandy Lang can give us an update on the items that she's got scheduled for next week, return to school.
Yeah, so for Welcome Week, we have, for our student life team has some virtual bingo, virtual scavenger hunt, and then some grab and go lunch options as well. So we want to still keep students engaged, but in a safe way.
Thank you.
Welcome.
That concludes our report.
We'll move on to the Human Resources and External Relations Committee with Richard Murden.
We had one consent agenda item, and that was taking a look at the hires and resignations. And there was no resignations, but two hires, Sarah Lynch and Carolyn Schneebelly. Is that close? Yep, okay. Both nursing instructors. For informational items, we heard about the new, what do we want to call this? The new student security group. When we hired our first security director in fall of 2018, the goal was and still is to provide security presence at all campuses while the buildings are open and students are present. This fall, the college took a step toward this goal by implementing a student security force. Currently, they have 9 students that are serving in this capacity. They are all criminal justice or corrections students employed as either work study or student employees. This model is used at several other Wisconsin technical colleges, such as Western, North Central, Chippewa Valley, with great success, and it's a good experience for these students. DMI highly encourages this model as well. The Student Security Force are trained by Randy Erdeen and outfitted with all needed equipment. However, they are not armed. Currently, they are serving all 4 campuses from the time the Student Center closes until the last student leaves, with the goal of expanding coverage as they are able and available. So that's a neat addition there for security. And the second informational items we had, Bobby shared with us, just the growing relationship in the Ameta project, getting to know more businesses and more business associations, and one of those is the Wisconsin Potato and Vegetable Growers Association, a great relationship that's formed since 2016 through current, and just very encouraging to see the level of interaction with that association, and the fact that that association is sponsoring one of the student entrances to the Ameta Center. So that's pretty cool. That's all we have.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, earlier this evening, the Committee of the Whole met, and Mr. Brad Russell gave us a high-level overview of Mid-State Technologies' plan for the next 3 years. Mid-State's 3-year technology plan addresses the technology needs that support 3 main categories: security, strategic plan, and sustainment. Implementing this plan will help strengthen our security posture and position us to meet the needs of our students, employees, and communities we serve. The security is going to revolve around device customization. The strategic plan will revolve around the Ameta Center, enterprise resource planning, the gold standard classroom with enhanced video and audio, and sustainment will revolve around desktop and laptop replacements, conference room technology replacements, telepresence room technology replacements, and SharePoint moving to the cloud. Brad was also noted to us that technology costs continue to increase, and increase the annual IT capital budget may need to occur in the future. So with that being said, we're ready for adjournment. Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.